what's going on? Los Angeles, what's up, Ramley? It is NFC, or NFL, I should say, wild card weekend. Rams travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. This is the Rams Skinny. We are excited to get all into it. Joining me, as always, my great co-host. I didn't come up with any great fodder names to shout out, unfortunately. I said I was going to do that, and I got sidetracked and did not. So I'll just go with the great Skinny T. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really good. Playoff football upon us. Great time of year. We're kind of finalizing our plans for Super Bowl Radio Row, which is exciting for all you listeners out there. Keep listening as we'll be in Las Vegas covering this. Whoever ends up in this Super Bowl, and maybe it's going to be the Rams. The great Ryan Dyrud. He predicted that the Rams would win 9 games this season. 10 games is what they ended up with, and now he's predicting a Super Bowl. So, he's got pretty good authority at this point. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the shout out. Exciting time for Los Angeles, and what a game we get to preview with the matchup: Goff and Stafford, McVay versus Goff, I guess, again. I mean, it's kind of just a superlatives of comparisons for this one. And Detroit hosting, and they haven't won a playoff game in 32 years. They won the NFC North for the first time ever, thanks to division realignment, and their first division title, I believe, since '93. So a very historic season for this Detroit Lions team. It's just a shame it's got to all come to an end on Sunday evening when Matthew Stafford comes back to town. So we can't wait to get into it. We're going to jump right in. But first, as always, shout out to our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Head to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app. Go make your first deposit. Use our promo code RAMS LAFB. That's all one word. RAMS LAFB gets you a welcome bonus deposit up to $100. Whatever you put in between $10 and $100, they match it for free. Then when you're in there, pick 2 to 5 players. You can go across any sport. I mean, if you want to do this Rams-Lions game, I mean, maybe I'll do a little teaser, not during the show, but I'll do something out on LAFBnetwork.com, or if you go to our Rams LAFB social channels, I'll put up a Rams-Lions underdog fantasy bet of which players I'm taking. So be on the lookout for that. But Underdog Fantasy, Rams LAFB is the promo code. Tell them the guys from the Rams Skinny sent you. Should be a good one. Probably a cold one in Detroit, but don't matter because they're in the Dome at Ford Field. How excited are you for this game, Skinny T? Let's start with that. Just the levels of excitement before we get into the nitty gritty.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the high, I'm an 11 for this game. I think this is a fascinating matchup. I think, looking at it on paper, it's really hard to figure out who has the advantage. We'll hash all our matchups and all that, and who actually we think will come out as the winner of this one. But just looking at it right now, I've talked myself in and out of the Rams winning this game 10, 15 times today. So, it's the great thing about this sport. Sports in general is it's not decided until the day happens, So I think that, in terms of just an excitement level as a football fan, as a Rams watcher, this is going to be fascinating. I wrote an article earlier calling this the Spider-Man meme of all the games that have been played. You got Stafford and Goff, McVay, and the ties that bind, but you also got Brad Holmes over there building this Detroit Lions team in the image of his former employers, the Los Angeles Rams, and it's showing. You look at their draft classes, you look at how this offense is developed, and you look at their coordinators and how smart they are, and Dan Campbell goes from kind of a laughing stock to you got to reckon with this guy. He's a good coach, so it's fascinating on all levels, and that's the kind of thing that just gets me going.
Yeah. I love this Lions team. I love Dan Campbell, one of my favorite coaches. His coordinators, obviously, both getting a bunch of interviews for head coaching jobs. Ben Johnson on the offensive side, Aaron Glenn on the defensive side. And you hit the nail on the head, kind of alluding to it, with Brad Holmes being their GM, has really kind of built this Detroit team in the image of what Les Snead, Sean McVay, and the Rams have done, in that you get a great leader as your head coach in Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell and McVay, I think, are different for sure, but a lot the same in ways that they're great player coaches. They're great, inspiring, motivational speakers, if you will. They're both very fit. We've seen McVay doing push-ups at training camp. We've seen Dan Campbell doing push-ups and up downs with his team at training camp. And then the way that they've developed coaches, McVay, I think, is one of the best in the business. Him and Kyle Shanahan, probably, in terms of developing assistant coaches. Dan Campbell, it seemed like, started slow. Right when he, first hired, he hired Anthony Lynn as his OC, ended up basically demoting him midway through the season, taking over the reins, and then, moving on from him, but had Ben Johnson on his staff, promotes him. He does well. Aaron Glenn started off slow as the DC and has really turned things around. And I'm not saying they're a juggernaut defense, but definitely obviously has done a good job there, and hence why he's getting head coaching interviews. So it seems like they've built a development system of developing these coaches that fit within what they do. Obviously, we'll probably talk about it in a minute here, but Aubrey Pleasant was taken from the Rams to join the Lions, ended up leaving the Lions, now back with the Rams. So, there's been some different turnover there, but it definitely is a team that feels like they've built it a little bit in the image of kind of what the Rams try to do. And the last thing I'll say too is, even when you look at how they draft, and you kind of alluded to it, a lot of their draft picks, at the time, everyone's like, wait, what are they doing? Like, head scratching, like, don't understand it. And then you see how they fit within their system and their culture. And they seem to, so far, have been very, very overall good picks. So the Rams do that a lot, where everyone, they haven't had a first round pick, but even some of their mid and early picks, most notably probably Tutu Atwell, but are kind of like seen of the head scratching variety. And obviously they've hit on a lot of those, and specifically this year. So very similar in these teams, and excited cannot wait to watch them play.
Yeah, 100%. And, you look back at, just kind of trying to figure out who's got the edge on this one. You look back at the Detroit Lions schedule and who they've beat, and kind of their wins over this season. They've really only had one impressive win, if you really think about it. Now, you can say that they beat the Cowboys, and I would say that they did, but it's still an L. It's still an L on the final score sheet there. But you got to go all the way back to week 1 to see an impressive victory where they beat the Kansas City Chiefs by 1 point. Kansas City Chiefs didn't have their best defensive player on the field, as they were still in contract negotiations with Chris Jones at that point. A win is a win at that point, and maybe Kansas City isn't the impressive team that they once were. But if you go through that schedule, I'm not entirely sure that, have we found out if this team is just a mirage, or if they're as good as slated. But then you look on the other side, you look at this winning streak that the Rams have. I think the Browns are the most impressive team that they beat. Now, they went toe to toe. They went toe to toe with the Ravens, forced them into overtime, a short-lived overtime, depressing overtime. But we're going to find out who's actually the playoff team, come Sunday. So I'm still perplexed. I'm still fascinated, and we can talk about it more. But
yeah,
I'm still,
it's a great point, because I think both these teams, you can have similar arguments. Like, when you look at the Rams, their losses, losing to the Eagles, Steelers, Cowboys, and Packers, who are all in the playoffs. And, Packers we can probably throw out because no Stafford and no Kyren Williams in that one. They were just shorthanded and really, never got their footing. Steelers, the unfortunate ending with the refs there, but the defense did let them get back in it when it seemed like it was out of reach, and kind of let the, Kenny Pickett and crew kind of crawl back in and come back and obviously win that game. Same with the Eagles. It's like the offense could never really get it going, specifically in the second half. And in that Cowboy game, that was their one like blowout loss. So similar, like you're saying, to the Lions, where, how good are each of these playoff teams, and how much can we surmise from the regular season? Now, the difference which is kind of what you alluded to, is all of those Rams L's to those playoff teams came before they went on this run that they've been on. And, what is it? 8 of their last 9 they've won in the regular season. And that one loss was to Baltimore in overtime in a game that they probably could have and should have won, if not for, the game tying touchdown drive at the very end there. So I think the Rams are the hotter team. The Lions are a team that had a very good season, not taking anything away from them. But yeah, the pedigree of those wins is not quite as great. They come in to the playoffs with, limping in a little bit with Laporta, who's going to give it a go. Sam Laporta, the great rookie tight end, but injured in that final game. He has practiced so far this week. Will he play? Will he not? If he does, he's not going to be 100%. So the trending team to me right now is definitely the Rams, not the Lions.
Yeah, and it's hard to deny what the offense has been doing, regardless of who they've been playing. They've been putting up points. They put up 31 against Baltimore. That's impressive. They put up a good amount of points against the Browns' very good defense as well. Regardless of if you want to talk about Joe Flacco and their offense hasn't been great. They've been able to get into the playoffs, but a good defense, regardless of what you want to say about what they got offensively. And I think both teams have been impressive in that way. And you think you talk about a guy like Laporta, and if they go in without him, when you're a rookie and you have that kind of production, you're getting some help. But the thing that you can't fake when it comes to a tight end position is his ability to block. And he's just been a huge addition to the Lions offense, that if he's not able to go in terms of receiving production, that's terrible, but also just protection for Jared Goff. So I think, that's, that would be a huge loss for this offense in the Detroit Lions offense. So, I think, if, they come in and they're so evenly matched. You look at EPA per play, you look at DVOA, you look at weighted DVOA. These offenses, I think you're right that the Rams are coming in as the hotter team, but you can't take anything away from what the Lions have been doing on offense. And it'll be interesting to see. It's when it's a confusing and tough matchup for me to hash out. I simplify. I bring it back and I go, who's the coach, who's the quarterback, and I think that's, if you look at those two things, that leans me towards McVay and Stafford. Stafford is much more unflappable. He's going to throw some interceptions occasionally, but it's the deciding factor may come down to whose mind gets more focused for this matchup. Does Stafford come in, get a little bit, teary-eyed for the good old days of, his drafting team, or does Goff use this the rage of 1,000 suns to get back at Sean McVay? Who's more focused at that position? I'm just going to lean Stafford and McVay in that kind of realm. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question and point, and there's two, I think, factors in that. And one is, since he's been a Ram, there's definitely instances of when he was a Lion as well, but Stafford, since he's been a Ram, has played his best games in the biggest moments, in the biggest games. I mean, obviously, 4-0 in the playoffs thus far. Can he make it 5-0 on that Super Bowl run? In games they had to get it done down the stretch, got it done. Jared Goff, as much as I like Jared Goff, respect him, think he is a really good quarterback, we've seen him kind of fall to the pressure in big moments. Obviously, most notably the 2018 Super Bowl, putting up 3 points against the New England Patriots. Shout out Bill Belichick, no longer the head coach there. We've seen him do it other instances, regular season, the Chiefs-Rams game, one of the greatest regular season games of all time. But I think overall, when you look just tick for tat, Stafford's more of a big game quarterback so far, or he's done it a long time, than Goff has been so far. So check that side for Stafford. The other side of it is McVay, and maybe not necessarily the defensive staff. However, Coach Henderson's been here a long time on the defensive line. Like I said, Aubrey Pleasant was with the Rams, went to the Lions, back with the Rams. So they do definitely have guys on defensive staff that know the ins and outs of Jared Goff. I don't think anyone probably still to this day, his wife, Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, probably knows Jared Goff in terms of the way he plays football than McVay. Because McVay, remember, everyone knew it. It was the big thing. Everyone knew it. Everyone knew it. It was the big thing about, talking to him in his head. And then when it got cut off for those 15 seconds. And so there's been stories. One came out just recently about the McCourty, Jason McCourty, New England Patriots corner, was on a podcast just the other day talking about how the way they shut down the Rams offense is they knew that what the Rams did that season was Rams would run up to line of scrimmage really quickly because you had them till 15 seconds till the things got cut off. They would look at the defensive front, and then McVay would basically either change the play or kind of coach Goff on what needed to happen for the play to be successful. And so the way they countered that is all different, different packages that they were doing, disguises and stuff, that once the thing cut off, they would totally shift their defense. And then Jared Goff wasn't able to himself dissect what the defense was doing without McVay in the headphones. So, that was 5 years ago. I think Goff's probably gotten better at that since then. He's matured as a quarterback and have gotten better. But McVay knows those tendencies and that. When you look at the other side, Stafford was there for 13 years. I don't think a single person on that staff or maybe even that team anymore was there when he was there. Maybe I'm trying to think. I'm sure there was a few players that were there, but certainly not the staff. I mean, they brought in a whole new coaching staff, whole new regime with Brad Holmes. So in reality, yeah, Matthew Stafford is a Detroit Lion legend there for 13 years, beloved by the city. But this current iteration of the Detroit Lions doesn't know Matthew Stafford from Aaron Rodgers, from any other quarterback in the league. Maybe even less because they've never played him. And so check that one as well for Stafford and McVay. So I want to get into more matchups, but I think it's a great point you bring up because you look at just the big game ability and the knowledge that the Rams side have against this Lions and Jared Goff, and it sways heavily into the Rams' favor.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, we'll just jump into another matchup here that has me kind of my head in a blender is, who's got the edge? Who's got the edge in the running game? Both teams have effective running attacks. Jahmyr Gibbs has been another rookie for the Detroit Lions that has had a great rookie season. They got David Montgomery, so they got a 1-2 kind of punch. They got the thunder and lightning, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. And then you got Kyren Williams. So where's your head there? Who do you think has the edge? Whose box are you going to check on that side?
I mean, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but this is where the gamesmanship and how Ben Johnson calls this game for the Lions, I think, will be fascinating because as it is throughout the regular season, they passed the ball roughly 57% of the time and ran it only 42%. When you play this Rams team, the secondary is probably, we would all agree, is probably where their weakness is. So you would think they're going to lean into passing the ball more, but because of everything I just said of McVay knowing Goff so well, I think Raheem Morris is going to really dial up a lot of good blitz packages and good disguises to confuse Goff and bring pressure because that's how you rattle Goff, is bringing the pressure. And so it should be that that double negative, if you will, where the Lions should actually run the ball more in this one, even though the Rams secondary, I think, is weaker. And when you have that two-headed monster and you're able to utilize Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield in the passing game, and then also have your kind of hammer with David Montgomery, you should be able to be effective. Now, the Rams, front seven has been very, very good this year, and most notably Aaron Donald and Kobie Turner in slowing that down. Flip it over, and, Kyren Williams obviously has had a phenomenal season. We talked about him. I don't even want to say ad nauseum because it's fun. I mean, he's a great, great player. We're excited about what he's done. But I'm curious how much McVay will lean into him in the running game versus leaning on Stafford in his arm and passing, which is typically what he does. But we've seen Kyren Williams hit that 20 plus carry threshold, down the stretch, I think almost every single game, minus obviously the Niners he didn't play. So it's close for me. I'll make a decision after hearing your argument, but it's close. The last thing I'll say is PFF just came out with their final regular season offensive line rankings. So obviously that goes into pass protection, also goes into the run game. Lions, they came in at number 2 overall. The Rams, I found this very disrespectful, came in 14th. So when you look at that, you probably lean more towards the Lions because of what the big bodies, the big fellas up front can give you. But I think that I don't think it's that big of a gap, the Lions offensive line and the Rams offensive line. So as you give your argument, you can lean into that as well. And I will just say, unfortunately for you on radio, we are up against it. We got to take a quick break. We will be back at the bottom of the hour with some Chargers talk, draft, GM, coaching search, all that. If you want to hear the rest of our Rams Lions preview, make sure to head over to LAFBnetwork.com, Rams LAFB YouTube channel, or just search Rams Skinny wherever you get your podcasts. So everyone on radio, thanks so much. Enjoy the game. Go Rams. But now I'll toss it over to you, Skinny, for your argument.
Well, I think this game will be decided on the side that runs the ball more effectively and more often. And here's the thing. Here's what will kind of decide for the Rams, to give the Rams the advantage. This is the secret sauce to beating the Lions from the run game perspective. Is you got to get them out of nickel and into base. You got to get them trying to stack that box, because when they get down to that base defense, they're the 30th ranked defense in the league. So, and how you do that is you run the ball down their throats, and you stay physical and you get physical. Now, we've seen McVay and his tendency to lean on the pass, try to put the pedal to the metal, try to score points really quickly, try to get up on a team, which is an effective way to do it. But I think a slow, methodical, just, ground and pound, picking up 4 yards, let that 14th ranked offensive line do what they do best, which is pushing people around. Get Steve Avila up there, Kevin Dotson just pushing people around, and I think that's a road to success. But on the same token, you look at Jahmyr Gibbs kind of getting around the edge at poor Michael Hoyt over there. That can be something that they have to watch out for. So I think it's really going to come out. That's what it's really going to come down to, is who can maintain their defense the best. And we've if you look at, if you want to compare linebackers at the second level, you just given Ernest Jones the kind of the check mark there. The advantage goes to the Rams on the second level. So Jahmyr Gibbs is I think is going to be a huge part of this game, so that the Rams defense, he's really effective, going through gap scheme right up the middle, but he can also get around the edge as well. He's got that negative sub 4.4 speed. So again, I'm torn on this one, just because they do have those two. So on the whole, I'm leaning Detroit Lions on this, but as you're saying, 57% of the time they're going to pass. Mm-hmm. And that's where the matchup gets a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. I'm so torn as well. I'll probably lean Lions as well, but it's close. I think Kyren Williams is due for a big game, getting the extra rest, not playing the Niners, and I think this offensive line is out to prove something that they were probably felt disrespected coming into the year, like kind of a castaway group. You have rookie and Steve Avila, you have Kevin Dotson, who joins right early, and Kevin Dotson has been absolutely fantastic, just a Pro Bowl snub. But Coleman Shelton's played great at center. I mean, remember it was Brian Allen. Brian Allen's been the starting center for the last couple of years. Obviously, he's been banged up a little bit, but Shelton played spottingly at guard and then came to the season as a starting center, and he never relinquished it. And he's played well. And Rob Havenstein, the silver fox of the group, if you will. And then Alaric Jackson has not been slouched at left tackle. Has played well for a spot that was definitely a concern with whether it was Joe Noteboom or Alaric Jackson or someone else. And I think he's played well. So yeah, I'll lean Detroit, but it's close. So I guess we go 1-1 there in terms of down the line of comps. So this one I think will be interesting. And I think I know both of our answers when you look at the totality. But when you look at the passing game and the receivers specifically, but the passing game as a whole, I won't say too much because I'll just toss you to get your answer, but Rams, obviously, with the dynamism of Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and then the depth with Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell. And then Lions have some really good playmakers, but obviously headlined by Amon-Ra St. Brown, another huge Pro Bowl snub, former USC Trojan, fight on. But, just an absolute dude who is so hard to cover, and the Rams are going to have their hands full with him. So I won't even say my piece. I'll just go to you. Who has the advantage in the passing game?
The Rams have the advantage in the passing game. They got the better quarterback, the more poised quarterback. They've got our rookie of the year, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. He's bound to come alive. It's going to happen. He's going to have a big game. This is his time to shine. This is when he shines the most. So, that's hard to beat. No disrespect to Amon-Ra. If Sam Laporta plays, it kind of starts to even out a bit, but I think, overwhelmingly those are the better receivers, just more talented guys. And they're just working really well together. They're really gelling right now. So I tick my box on the Rams side of that. What do you say?
Yeah, I think it's fairly easy. I take it for the Rams as well. When you just look at the firepower that they have at all levels, and obviously I would lean Stafford over Goff, as we kind of talked about early on. What Puka Nacua has done, Cooper Kupp, even in like a down year, has still been really, really good overall. Statistically, obviously, it looks down, but he didn't play 5 games or so and whatnot. So, but he's still, one of the best in the league, and you got to account for him. And Robinson obviously came alive, and Tutu started hot, and then we kind of disappeared. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Tutu has like a nice little game here and gets a playoff touchdown. And then, Tyler Higbee has just been kind of at least a steady player for this offense. And what's tough about this Lions group, if Sam Laporta does not go, as you mentioned earlier, who's going to be that inline blocking tight end, but also he's so important and gets a ton of targets in the passing game because Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's going to get his. I mean, I'll just say right now, I think he probably has 9 catches for over 100 yards in this game. Like, he's going to get his. He is one of the best receivers. He can do it all. He can do short, intermediate. He can beat you deep. He's got the speed. He's got the strength. Great route runner. Not going to drop anything. He's going to get his. But who's going to be the next one? Like, we haven't seen Jameson Williams pop off. I mean, Josh Reynolds, great former Ram, but, he's a wide receiver 4 probably. So who's going to be that guy that truly takes the load off of Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or if the Rams do double or put something over the top on him, is someone else that can make a difference. And I don't think they have that, especially with Laporta at. For the Rams, you have 4 options. I mean, go any which way, and you got 4 guys that can really make something happen, sometimes 5. So, and then if you include Kyren Williams, I know obviously Jahmyr Gibbs is great out of the backfield, but yeah, I get definitely lean Rams. Check that 2-1 Rams Lions. Who we got next, Skinny T?
Well, let's flip it around to the other side. Let's take a look at the defense. Let's talk pass rush first. Let's talk the trenches. You've got a scrappy young group up front, but anchored by one of the best in the business, Aaron Donald. Detroit has one of the best offensive lines. This will be probably the best offensive line that they've faced. I'll say that the Rams are heading into this game playing against. The Lions defense, they've got one pass rusher, Aiden Hutchinson, and he's a heck of a guy. 11 and a half sacks. But behind that, you got to add up a few guys to get to his production totals. And you think about heading into last year's Super Bowl, I was saying all the Eagles got to do is just stop Mahomes to Kelsey. That's all you got to do. But that's one of the most potent things you got going out there in the NFL. Aiden Hutchinson is young, but he's starting to prove himself as one of the leading contenders out there. So you think about, how do you stop him? Well, that ends up taking Tyler Higbee out of the play, or that ends up taking Kyren Williams out of the play, offering some chip help. And that can have a larger knock-on effect to the whole game plan if you take those guys out, and in the blocking game. So, I'm giving the edge to the Lions because they have that one guy, and stopping that one guy going to be a hard day. And, if you look at overall production, the Lions actually have the number one pass rush percentage per Pro Football Reference out there. And the Rams are way towards the bottom on that. So, this is another one of those things, a deciding factor. If they can't find a way to stop him, Aiden Hutchinson, that is, this is going to be a long day. Luckily for the Rams, he lines up on the right-hand side pretty much all the time. He's not one of the kind of guys that he's not a Micah Parsons. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's close for me too, Skinny. I mean, obviously the greatness that is Aiden Hutchinson and being able to slow him down is definitely going to be tough. And, you mentioned on the right side, you get that benefit then of Higbee. I mean, Higbee can land on either side, but you get the benefit of going against Havenstein, and then Higbee can either chip him or Kyren Williams being in pass pro, who's definitely improved. You lose that, unfortunately, in the offensive game plan then. But as we talked about just earlier, you have so many good weapons at the receiver that, that's obviously what you need to do to keep Stafford upright. So that's going to be tough. I will, however, lean Rams, and here's why. They don't have, and this is no disrespect to Aaron Donald, but they don't have like the true, just pure pass rusher like Aiden Hutchinson, especially from the edge. But the type of pass rush they do have affects Jared Goff much more than even perhaps an edge. And that's that interior pressure between Aaron Donald and Kobie Turner. And when Goff can't step up in the pocket, I mean, that's when he's one of the below par QBs in the NFL. So if they're able to get that pressure, push the center of the line into Goff, regardless if they get him or not, he is not going to be accurate, not going to be effective, because he's not mobile enough to scramble out. And so if you get that pressure from the inside, whereas sometimes even the outside pressure, if it funnels him in, he can still step up and make those throws. So because where their strengths lie in the pass rush, albeit not as dominant as some of the other teams, specifically in Aiden Hutchinson, it's enough to where I think it frustrates Goff. And obviously Raheem Morris is going to dial up some stuff, I think, that are going to, throw some different things at him. But just because of what those two players do, I will lean Rams on that one.
Oh, that's such a good point, man. I wish I would have thought of that.
Love it.
It's good. I mean, it's like I'm saying, it's a fantastic point. Yeah, I can absolutely see that coming to pass. So, I mean, you're leading Rams pretty heavily. I'm interested. So let's hop over to the secondary, and what are your thoughts in terms of who has the edge there?
Yeah, again, not real dominant secondaries. I think you have some good players, but they're not not a ton of experience as units overall. Rams have shown some good things. Jordan Fuller, do we know, as of this recording, I know he's been day to day battling that injury. Have you heard anything more about his status?
Still not practiced on Thursday. We'll know more tomorrow, I'm sure. Also, CJ Gardner Johnson rejoining in Week 18, so they have a little bit of boost for the Lions in their secondary. So,
which that's big. I mean, that's probably one of their biggest secondary pieces, able to do that. And so it's I would this okay, and this, I don't know, this doesn't affect necessarily his unit per se, but I would have leaned probably Lions, just because with Fuller banged up and with the inconsistency we've seen from Derion Kendrick, from Cobie Durant. Obviously, John Johnson's been, played fairly well, and we've seen some great stuff from Russ Yeast and Quentin Lake when he's played in, and obviously Akhello Witherspoon has been overall solid this year. But I think there might be a little bit more talent on that Lions side. However, and I'm going to just keep seeming like a homer, but I'm not trying to, but hopefully my points at least make sense. I will actually lean Rams on this one because of Aubrey Pleasant. And it's not necessarily, again, Aubrey Pleasant's not the one running the offense to go against, but he might know some tendencies that the Lions have done. And he obviously changed things up since he was there, and been with the Rams all season, but maybe he has a little bit of edge there, some more knowledge there again, knowing Jared Goff well and what Jared Goff's tendencies are. And so not only did he coach that unit last year, but also knowing Goff, I think he'll be able to coach up his guys to kind of see those tendencies, see the route concepts that they're doing. So it kind of just goes back into just the Rams side having some knowledge on what the Lions may do, whereas the Lions having little to no knowledge of what the Rams will do. So kind of that chess match, if you will, knowing. So purely based on maybe talent and productivity, I'd probably lean Lions, but because of the known factors that maybe reside in that Rams coaching staff, I'll lean Rams actually.
Okay. Yeah. I don't mind that at all. I mean, I think the addition of CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to make a huge effect, although he's only played 3 games. So it's hard to say that he's, working with Brian Branch and the rest of that crew in a gelled fashion. They're communicating really well or anything like that. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to just pop in there. He's obviously an experienced guy, a guy that had plenty of playing time in the playoffs with the Eagles. And if Jordan Fuller misses the game, I mean, that's a huge loss. I mean, he wore the green dot when he was young and as a rookie, and he's been a part of the offense ever since when he's been healthy. Unfortunately, second playoffs that he's heading into kind of dinged up. So that's, it's hard to leave. I'm going to push on this one if I can, just because both have kind of flashed and both have gotten beaten. And Goff isn't necessarily that kind of quarterback that's going to stretch you vertically all game long. That maybe a Joe Flacco could or something like that. So unfortunately, I'm going to push on that one. So then we got the big mock ball out there. We've got the big hanging Chad, the special teams. Can you be a full homer and pick the Rams special teams?
I don't think there's any credible way in the world I can make some argument for the Rams special teams. So we won't even spend a lot of time on it. This leans pretty heavily to the Lions, and if it comes down to the kicking game, I don't feel good about the Rams winning this game. They're going to need some more out of their offense to ensure that this is not going to come down to a kick. Because if that's the case, then the Lions are winning this game and moving on to the divisional round.
Yeah. And it goes to this kind of other question, which is, who's going to be the more aggressive coach? Now, Dan Campbell, comes into this game with the reputation of being an aggressive coach, going for 2 on the very last play of that Cowboys game, which didn't go in his favor because of the refs. But you got McVay also going for 2 at the very end of that 49ers game, but he doesn't come into this game with the kind of reputation that Dan Campbell has. And you think about games that come down to things like trick plays or picking up that 4th down, or ensuring that you get a touchdown rather than a field goal in the red zone. What are your thoughts, on those kind of peripheral things, those intangible things, maybe that kind of idea? Is this game going to be close enough where those kind of things are going to matter?
No, I think absolutely. And you look at the 2 kickers. Brett Maher comes to this game. I thought it was actually worse. It felt worse, but 17 of 23 in field goals, 13 of 15 in extra points. Riley Patterson is 16 of 18 field goals, which shows the aggression, not settling for field goals there, as he's taken less than Maher. And Maher was off this team for quite some weeks, and 41 of 44 extra points. So missed 3 extra points. So, I mean, it's not even like he's a dominant force compared to Maher. But I think that will go into the thought process for Sean McVay. I think we know who Dan Campbell is. We know his style. He's going to be aggressive. His kicker has 18 attempts the entire year, and Maher didn't play. Wasn't with the Rams. Was it 3 weeks or 4 weeks that Havrisik was here?
That sounds, something like that. Yeah.
And he has 5 more attempts than what part of that also is red zone offense that the Rams have had their struggles with red zone offense, but part of that is Dan Campbell's aggression, and not settling for field goals and going for it and punching it in and seeing the field as 4 down territory at all times. So if you're McVay, you kind of have to have that, that Campbell's going to do it. So that field goals aren't going to get it done for you. Plus, that your field goal kicker is shaky at best. So we might see, Skinny T, this might be the most aggressive game we ever see Sean McVay call, because in my opinion, he's one of the more conservative coaches in the NFL. I don't think that gets talked about a lot, but he's pretty conservative most of the time. I don't know the numbers offhand. Maybe you can tell me, or I'll look it up while you're talking. But and I'm not saying he's completely conservative. He's not the most, but he leans more on the conservative side than the aggressive side, like a Dan Campbell or like a Brandon Staley or like some of these other coaches that are known for that. So this game might be the changing of the guard in that, where he's going to have to be aggressive because of the shaky kicker and because of the opposition that will be aggressive and needing to kind of play keep up in that touchdown game. But what do you think?
What if Carson Wentz comes in on 4th and short,
Woo!
and does the Los Angeles Rams tush push version? Because that's how they used him in against the 49ers. And McVay was much more aggressive, went for touchdowns, went for 2 on 4th downs. I like that idea. I think, it hasn't really been, it's not on tape a lot. They might not be expecting it. And then going back to special teams, is there going to be a fake punt? Is there going to be anything like that coming from McVay, which we used to see with Hecker when he was here? Obviously, I don't know Maher's throwing ability, but I think that I don't know the numbers. I'm just talking anecdotally, but always they put together this chef's kiss drive, first drive of the game, and then they get down there, can't get it into the end zone, and they settle for a field goal there.
Mm-hmm.
And it burns me up. I cannot stand. I cannot stand for that. So, I think we saw some aggressiveness from McVay last week. I don't know if it was complete mirage, but if a bad kicker is forcing him to be a more aggressive coach, I'm here for it. So, I don't know. Were you able to find any aggressiveness numbers or stats or anything?
Yeah, so at least in 4th down attempts, I know there's like aggressiveness percentages and stuff out there, but just in 4th down attempts, the Lions are second. The Panthers were first, but I guess they had nothing to play for most seasons, so why not? The Lions were second with 40 4th down attempts. The Rams were in the bottom third with 21 attempts, so almost half. The Saints were the least aggressive with 19, so only 2 less than the Rams at 21. So definitely one of the more conservative teams, conservative coaches, when you look at half the attempts of the Lions, and we'll see what that looks like this game. Okay, let's do it this then. Over under to end the episode, and then we'll give our prediction. Over under. Do I want to go full game or just Rams? Full game. Over under 4, or I guess we'll say 3.5 4th down attempts for both teams. Over under.
For the entire game?
For the entire game.
I'm going to go over.
So over. So now let's go over under. This is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to BetOnline, use promo code BELIEVE for a 50% welcome bonus. Over under for the Rams, we'll set it at 1.5 for the game.
Oh, I like this. This is juicy. I'm going to go under. Under 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under 2. So, but if he gets that 1 in the red zone, that might be all they need. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to go over for both. I think we see the Lions probably go for it 3 times. I think we see the Rams go for it at least. I think they go twice. I think he realizes the necessity in this game, in this matchup, particularly if you're playing a different team. If you're playing, say the Cowboys, who are towards more they had 23 attempts, only 2 more than the Rams. If you're playing, an Eagles maybe, or one of these, or Eagles is a bad example because they have the damn tush push. But if they're 4th and more than 3, maybe they don't go as much. But if you're playing one like that, maybe you play conservative. But against the Lions, I think you gotta go to your bag. And so we'll see 2+ 4th down attempts for Sean McVay.
Two last stats here just to share. Red zone defense for the Rams, ninth best by EPA in the league. 19th place for the Lions. So no reason not to go for it on 4th. You got a bad defense, and once again, tip of the cap to Raheem Morris. Red zone is where you got to shut them down. Bend but don't break. Get 3. Three's always better than 7 on defense.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, the Rams, you're going to be playing 4 down defense in the red zone. Just know that, because they're going to be going. So get ready to stop them 4 times to make it happen. All right, Skinny T. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if Dan Campbell scores a touchdown on his first drive, is he going for 2? Is he going for 8 points instead of 7 there?
I think he'll wait. I don't think he'll do it on the first drive, but wouldn't shock me. That's a fun prop bet, probably.
Yeah, I like that.
And does the 2-point conversion involve an offensive lineman catching it?
Oh, man.
I love that they did that last week again. They're just like, screw it, we're doing it again.
Oh, they did? I did not see that.
Not on a 2-point conversion, but just an actual like a 4th down attempt. It wasn't Decker. It was one of their other offensive linemen, but they did it again. Just to like, look, we checked in with you, ref. So prediction time. Who you taking? What's your score? Over under is at 51, which feels so low to me when we just talked about both these defenses ranked like in around the 20 range, and both offenses are ranked in the tops. So, but that being said, who you got and why and what score?
All right, it's the race to 30 points. That's what I'm going to say. It's going to be a close game. I think that the Rams get out early. Detroit battles back though. They never say die. They keep it close. I'm going to say, flip flopped over and over again. The suspense is over though. I got to pick. I got to lock it in. Okay, I'm going to do the same one as I did for the 49ers. 31-30.
31-30 Rams.
31-30 Rams. Yep.
Okay. Whew. 1 point. That sounds like it's coming down to either a missed 2-point or a missed kick if it's 31-30. Love it. Because of everything we said, obviously in doing the check down, I heavily favored the Rams in terms of matchup. It takes more than just individual matchups or position specific matchups to win a game. It's a full team game, but I just think the heavy lean of Stafford over Goff and McVay's knowledge of Goff and that offense, I think will, it's a little different, but it's still Goff running it that McVay knows, like I said, probably better than, his wife knows him and teammates know him. So I will lean Rams as well. For me, it's going to come down to who had a key 4th down conversion or who had a key 4th down stop. And I think the Rams are less aggressive in terms of amounts tried, but they do a critical job in either a stop or a conversion to get it done. So I will go 34-27 Rams win.
I like it. All right.
What'll be
You're a lot more confident. A lot more confident than I am. Sorry.
Still one possession, but I think they get it done. Just to throw it out there, just in case I'm right, I threw out my Super Bowl prediction when the matchups were first announced, and I took Rams-Browns in the Super Bowl in Vegas. We'll be on Radio Row with the Los Angeles Rams playing Joe Flacco, elite Joe Flacco, and the Browns at the Warlord Death Star in Vegas.
I love it. I love it. A bold move. You're probably among, I don't know, very high 1 percentile version of people that picked the Rams to win 9 games this season. So,
there we go. Let's keep it rolling.
Bet online, friends, pick the over.
There was a graphic. I can't remember which outlet did it, but it only gave the Rams a 1% chance of going to the Super Bowl. So I'm like, let's bet against that. Those odds are in our favor, right?
I like it.
With that, a little bit longer, but hey, this is a big game, big matchup, a lot of fun. Sunday night, we cannot wait. We'll have all your coverage for it throughout the weekend on LAFBnetwork.com. Make sure to head there. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, RL Anderson LAFB is where you can find Skinny T. Ryan Dyrud LAFB is where you can find me. Or the main channels, Rams_LAFB for only Rams or LAFB Network for the main account. If you're not on YouTube, make sure to head to Rams LAFB and hit that like and subscribe button. If you're on there and you haven't done that already, please do it. Give us a huge favor. We've loved seeing the growth. Want to keep it going. You can find everything, like I said, on LAFBNetwork.com or on podcast platforms. Just search Rams Skinny. For Skinny T, I'm Ryan Dyrud. Everyone be well. Enjoy the game. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of you out perusing around at watch parties as we'll be making our attempt as well. Everyone be well. Stay blessed. Talk to y'all next week.